All right. So, all boats almost in the water. A few years ago, I went river rafting, and all the boats first are on the bank of the river, and then they put them in the river, and everybody is milling around, and they're about to get the safety instructions. And the safety instructions are, if you fall in the water, keep your head up and your feet downriver, okay? And try to make it over to the bank. So in a minute, we're going to enter the river. Once we enter the river, we're all in the river until you leave on Sunday. We're not entirely in control of what's going to happen here. And that includes me. How many of you forgot something, by the way? How many of you noticed? What did you forget? Toothbrush. Water bottle. Oh, flip-flops. Hair dryer. I forgot my hair dryer. So we're all human beings. We're all human beings in this room. We're not here about status seeking. And so we're going to give ourselves permission to be imperfect here, okay? So we're going to be in the river, and once we're in the river, we have to just let go and trust. And if it feels like it's a lot for you, then pull your head out of the water, put your feet down, and make a way to the bank. And the bank is all of us. We're all here to support each other. Okay. All of you have a Moo notebook. And if you have your Moo notebook, or if you brought a notebook, what I'd like you to do, hopefully you brought a blank notebook, what I'd like you to do is to take your Moo notebook or your notebook and find the first page, the first blank page in there, and I want you to put your hand on that page and draw an outline of your hand. Okay? If you need an extra pen, Michelle will bring you an extra pen. Oh, thank you for reminding me. There are extra pens. That table there is the material table. There are extra pens there. There are Post-its there. How many of you are bunking with somebody else? You're sharing a room. Did you bring earplugs? No, you didn't, did you? But I did. Because I have bunked with other people and they always snore. So there are some earplugs over there. There's some Hubba Bubba. Who here forgot their bubble gum? Exactly, Hubba Bubba. Please take the Hubba Bubba with you. What else is over there? Everything that you might need. There are COVID tests over there if you have not tested. And there are some colored pens over there because I know some people like to use colored pens with their notes. Just feel free to grab a handful and use them, and they're yours to keep. Okay? So if you have drawn an outline of your hand in your notebook, has everybody done that? Draw an outline of your hand like you see up here. Okay? Now, if you drew an outline of your hand, look and see if your ring finger is longer than your index finger, your pointer finger. Your ring finger, which is longer, your ring finger or your index finger? If your ring finger is longer than your index finger, it means that you will be a successful coach. Okay? It's bullshit. Who says bullshit? Okay. Now here's the thing. If your ring finger is longer than your index finger, there is actually a correlation to your finger length and success as an entrepreneur, is the research that I've seen. And the reason for that is that it's an indication that you had more testosterone, prenatal testosterone. Now, here's the thing about that. The reason I bring this up is that, yes, there appears to be a correlation between finger length and success, at least for being an entrepreneur. But nobody in this room is the base case. It's not 100% correlation, number one. And so you have to decide, are you the people that percentage-wise had longer fingers, or are you one of the people who was more successful even though your ring finger was not longer than your index finger? Now, the reason I bring this up is because belief is so important. And you saw a sneak preview of this. This is a correlation too. So I recommend that all of you go easy on the cheese consumption, because there's a strong correlation between cheese consumption and the number of people who die by being tangled in their bed sheets. And I don't want to lose anybody to tangled bed sheets. Okay? So there are false correlations. The other reason, so we're going to talk much more about belief, I'm sure, throughout the weekend. But there's another reason I had you draw your hand in your notebook. Get ready for it. Whose hand is that? Whose hand is it? It's your hand, right? It's not my hand. This is your handbook. The whole purpose of you being here is to make this yours. My intention is for you to leave with as much of this as possible in your bones. Yours. Yours to keep and to make yours. It won't be the same as me or what I'm presenting, and it shouldn't be. Hopefully you will find some of this useful or inspiring or whatever, but the goal is to make it yours so that it's in your bones and you can use it. So tonight is about being the host. And I know most of you already know this, but just quickly, there's this notion of triple loop learning, right? If you want to create something, you do something and you get a result. And if the result isn't what you want, you can back up and you can try something else and you get a different result. That's single loop learning. If you're not creating what you want or you're not getting the result that you want, you can back up even further and say, well, how am I thinking about this? How do I frame this? And if you frame it differently or you think about it differently, you're going to think of different possibilities of action. You're going to do different things and get a different result. And if you don't get the result you want, you think about it differently, that's double loop learning. If you're still not getting the result that you want, you can back up even further and you can say, who am I being? Who am I being? What's my intention here? How am I showing up for whatever this is? And if you show up differently, or your intention is different, you'll think differently about it, and then you'll do different things, and you'll get different results. And if that doesn't work, you back up and you say, well, maybe I need to be a different way here. I need to have a different intention. I need to show up differently for this. Now, my favorite example of this is, networking. And here you are at a workshop, but many of you don't know each other. You're going to be networking. When you go to a networking event, there are lots of ways to approach going to a networking event. You could go on Google and you could search for network tips, and you'll find things like wear your name tag on your right side because you shake hands with your right hand, or ask a different question than what do you do for a living, ask what they're excited about, or something like that. You could try different things, tips and tricks, and that would be a single loop approach to networking. Or you could say, well, how do I think about this? Is this about getting as many business cards as I can, or talking to as many people as I can? Or is it about making a few quality connections with people and having deep conversations maybe with a few people? And depending on how you think about what you're doing, you're going to have a very different experience. That would be double loop learning. You could think about it, you could try different ways of framing it. A triple loop approach to networking would be you go to an event like this one, and you just be the host. And everyone here knows what it means to be the host. So my invitation to you is that everyone here shows up for this weekend as the host. None of you are guests. Each one of us is the host, not just me, not just Michelle, not just Mount Madonna. Each one of you is the host. It is for us to create the space that we want so that everyone here can show up as their best self and do their best work. So that's the invitation to you. Now, all of you have made an incredible journey to be here tonight. And so what I'm going to ask you to do in just a minute, I'm going to ask the apprentices to stand up and take a chair. And we're going to, again, I warned you, we're going to have a lot of creative chaos this weekend. So if you're an apprentice, stand up. Please find a corner of the room or a space in the room. You can come in here. Alex is an honorary apprentice. So Alex, if you can pull your chair in somewhere. So if you would locate yourselves first, and then I'm going to ask you to self-select. If you would please go ahead and just grab your chair and go sit in a circle, and then I'll explain what I'm going to have you do. Thank you. Here's what I'd like you to do. All of you have made an incredible journey to be here, and I want to give you an opportunity just to make sure that you connect with a couple people and find your place, not only in the space, but in this time. We're here together now. And so what I'd like is for each of you, and you'll just have a couple minutes for this, but for each person to take a couple of minutes to answer these questions. How did you decide to attend the course? How did you decide to be here? What did you have to overcome to be here? What were some of the challenges for you just to be here now? Okay? Who helped you? If somebody helped you, who helped you? Who are your allies? What have you already learned on your way here? And then finally, how will you be different at the end of the program? Or how are you hoping you will be different at the end of the program? So what I'd like is for you to take just like 2 minutes a person. Shouldn't take very long. And your apprentice or Alex will help monitor the time. You don't have to like keep a stopwatch, but just keep an eye on the time, please. Any questions about what I'm asking you to do? Good? Everybody good to go? Okay, decide. Ariel, yes?
Do we give folks like a minute to think about answers, or do we just go right away?
You can just ask for a volunteer, someone who's ready to go, and then you can just go around the circle after that first person goes. Okay? Any other questions? What other questions? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead and decide who's going to go first, and you can go ahead and start. I'm really curious, how many of you are here because of somebody else in the room? Someone else persuaded you to come? I love that. I love that. Thank you to whoever brought you here. And I know you have lots of other reasons for why you're here that I'm sure we'll hear about as we go through the weekend. What did you have to overcome to be here? What's something you had to overcome to be here? Ah, okay. Just limiting beliefs about what it would take to be here. Okay. Travel, conflicts, practical stuff. Eye surgery. How many of you got help from someone else in the room to be here? I love that. I love that. How many of you came here together, by the way? You either shared a ride or carpooled or arranged or are sharing a room or something. I love that. Okay. What's something you already learned on your way to being here?
Optimizing for certain
Optimizing for serendipity. Okay, I love that.
You said it was the master level course, so.
Optimizing for serendipity is my favorite strategy for creating a life that's better than you expected. How will you be different at the end of the program? When you leave, how will you be different? Vanessa.
I said I don't know.
Okay.
But every time I become different from this work, I really liked the difference. So whatever it is, bring it.
Great. Thanks, Vanessa. Daniel. Lighter. Great. Thank you. I'll tell you how I want to be different at the end of this weekend. This is B prime for me. I want to be empty. I want to have given everything away. And I want to be full. That's how I want to be different. Everyone should have what we affectionately refer to as the bingo card. This is the second version of the bingo card. And it's the new and improved version of the bingo card. It has virtually almost everything we're going to cover in one way or another is on this bingo card. There may be one or two things we'll cover that isn't on the bingo card. The reason we call it the bingo card is that you can sort of follow along as we go through the weekend. This is your workbook, okay? This has everything that we're going to cover. And you'll want to keep it handy when you're coaching and be familiar with it. We're going to go in depth on all of this. I know that most of the people here have some good depth of exposure to the content, and so my invitation to you is to bring your toughest questions and your biggest challenges so that we can take this work deeper. But everyone should have a bingo card. Don't leave this evening without a bingo card. And the reason it's called the bingo card is because you can call bingo when we've covered everything. If we do, we should, in one way or another. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I invited all of you to be the host. And here's the table. We've set this beautiful table for all of us to partake in this feast this weekend. And so it's important to me that everyone have an opportunity to take their seat at the table. And we'll maybe talk more about this at some point, but the first task in any relationship or any team is what's called inclusion, which is the first question you answer is, am I in or am I out? Do I belong here? And I want all of you to know that you belong here, and I want everyone to know that everyone else belongs here. And so everyone is going to have an opportunity to stand up in front of their self-portrait and introduce themselves. You'll have at most 2 minutes, because we do have a pretty good-sized group here. If you can do it in a minute, that's great too. Don't worry about telling us everything, because one of the reasons we're doing this is that this is your sort of mailbox too. So during the weekend, as people interact with you and they get an experience of what it's like to be in your presence, and they get an experience of your essence, they're going to write you little love messages on Post-its. And there are plenty of Post-its on that materials table over there. And if you do a breakout with someone, or you have lunch with someone, or you have a hike with someone, and you have a really great conversation, and you have a sense of what that person's essence is, you're going to write them a little love message on a Post-it, and you're going to put it on their self-portrait. And by the end of the weekend, your portrait will have, some number of little love letters, recognition of your essence. We'll also talk more about essence tomorrow, okay? But that's also part of the reason for this. So we need to go pretty quickly through this. Now, I just want to mention something. I just want to acknowledge something. Almost certainly, at one or maybe many times during the weekend, you will feel bored. And that's natural. We want to be entertained, and we want to feel like everything that happens is practical and relevant for us. But being bored is not being the host. being the host is giving your attention as a gift. And so there are a lot of people here, and with everybody introducing themselves, it requires a lot of attention. And I know it's also late at night, but I'm going to invite you to muster yourselves and just really be present for each other, because this is about acknowledging and seeing each other so that we can all enter this space. This is where the boats go in the river. This is where your boat goes in the river. Okay? So Michelle is going to go first, and then she's just going to pick somebody. And then that person is going to go next, and they're going to just pick somebody. And so when it's your turn, you'll just stand up by your portrait. You'll take a minute or maybe two. Gary, where's Gary? Gary is going to time you. So at 2 minutes, if you go to 2 minutes, he's gently going to give you a little sonic sorbet to let you know that your time is up. Okay? Are you good with timing, Gary? Okay. So at 2 minutes, if you go to 2 minutes, Gary will let you know. Okay? What questions do you have before we get started? If your self-portrait is not in view somewhere, like I don't know if there's any behind the screen or anything, you'll have to grab it and put it somewhere where people can see it when it's your turn. Okay? All right. Gary.
Since I arrived late, I didn't have a chance to do a portrait.
Yep. You'll do one tomorrow morning. It'll be fine. Okay? Other questions? Okay. Michelle.
And I know that we're going to be examining a lot of forms this weekend, so I'd love to hear more about how you understand your practice and how you bring it into form.
We got some brain and some heart with a lightning bolt going through it.
There's something about the mountains and the big trees that really just kind of calm me.
And it took me a little while to embrace that hot pink was my brand color, because I'm like, what are people going to think?
English is my second language. Public speaking has been the biggest fear of my life. I taught 259 workshops last year.
Here I have to live is to dance. I really believe that dances and living are very, very similar.
Kind of broader picture there that I articulated through this wonderful purple stick man here.
Make yourselves comfortable. Feel free to lie down if you want, if you have a pillow, or close your eyes. We're not going to dim the lights, but I'm going to read you a little bedtime story. In just a minute, Gary is going to give you some musical sonic sorbet to help you drift into a ready for bedtime state. So we'll have a little music for a few minutes, and then I'm going to read a bedtime story to you. The bedtime story is called Where is Where? After the bedtime story, when it's over, Gary will play a little bit as you leave. And I invite you to leave the room silently. If you want to talk, wait until you're outside of the room to talk, so that this space is, kind of a gentle, drifty, getting ready for peaceful, restful sleep space. Feel free to just close your eyes or lie down or relax. Gary. Veil? No, we can't dim the lights. Yeah, let's not dim the lights, but close your eyes if you want and relax. Where is where? Where is where? Where is where? There's no here, here. It took me by surprise, the thought exploding in my head and bursting through my eyes. Where is here? Is it in the kitchen? No, it's not there. Is it in the bedroom? It's not anywhere. I have a map, but it can't even say where here was yesterday. And where is where? And who is who? Are you me? Am I you? Is it now or is now then? But what is time and when is when? My head is spinning like some wild top. It spins and just won't stop. I think it's now. I don't know how. Then, in the shadows, I see a sacred cow. Neti, neti, tatsvam asi. What's that you say? Don't get bossy. What was that? Was that Greek? What did you say? Speak, speak. Not this, not this. Thou art that. What's that mean? Don't go, let's chat. Listen carefully. Don't have a cow. You are you, and now is now. But where is here? And when is then? And why am I? Tell me again. Here is here, and over there. It's on the bed, and under the chair. And then was then, and then is now, and you are me. Don't ask me how. That's the way it is. It's kind of crazy. And if you don't think so, then you're just lazy. I'm so confused. It must be true, but if you're me, then who are you? I know it's confusing. It's a paradox. It's a game we play with clocks. You see those hands? You hear that ticking? Those hands say now. Those ticks aren't sticking. This tick is now. That tick was then. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Each tick is when. And who am I, if you are you? More games with names. We're not through. I call you Jim. You call me Pam. I call you sir. You call me ma'am. So when is when, and I am I, but where is where? And why? Oh, why? To play that game, we use the inch. It isn't perfect. It'll do in a pinch. Say that's 3 feet. 3 feet's a yard. It isn't easy, but it's not hard. So that big chair's a yard away. What do you think? What do you say? So this is here, and that is there. I think I've got it. There's just one snare. It all makes sense when I use my senses. And time, I know, is all about tenses. But why have where? What makes tall tall? And why have any when at all? Oh, why is easy. It's the easiest part. There is no why. There was no start. It all just is. Or maybe it's not. It doesn't matter. Or I forgot. So it all just is. There is no why. Should I be sad? I think I'll cry. Oh, don't cry. It isn't sad. Don't shed a tear. You should be glad. If there's no why, it's up to you. You can do what you want to do. Whose game is this? It's your game. You make the rules, and there's no shame. You can't make a mistake even if you try. I'm not making this up. I wouldn't lie. You always win, even when you lose. It's your game. You get to choose. So that's your bedtime story. That's the only bedtime story you'll get this weekend, but I would like you to have some bedside reading. So as you leave, please take a book. And thank you so much for being here. Good night. Sleep well. Sweet dreams.